Studio. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Liz.
Thanks very much for coming by.
Thank you.
So let's just start by your main focus right now is, and I have to cheat because actually I can't remember. I can't. It's got a very long, the Public Higher Education Empowerment and Innovation Act.
Perfect.
Okay. So there was a press conference yesterday at the Capitol, rather lengthy press conference at which many people came forward and talked about the benefits of this, and we'll discuss what it is. But basically, it's an overhaul, a reform of the SUNY system, if you will, an innovation for the SUNY system, which hasn't been changed in quite some time. And a lot of people were there. We have the governor, we have the lieutenant governor, we have all these people, and we don't have anyone from either the Assembly or the Senate. So that's the problem, right?
Well, this was a press conference to talk to our elected officials, particularly in the Assembly and the Senate. You know, the governor introduced the Empowerment Act, which helps you, that's for short,
right,
in the budget bill, intentionally, because this is a strategy for the State University of New York and the City University of New York to raise revenues where the state can't provide.
So that's the most controversial aspect of it, actually, is this idea that instead of a system-wide tuition, there would be a tuition differential by region.
Well, there are three elements to the bill, which I think is important, because I think the idea that part of it is tuition leads people to speculate on what part is tuition. Will we do all of this on tuition? And the answer is absolutely not. We will manage our revenues through tuition and making tuition more predictable and actually affordable. We also will create public-private partnerships on the land that the state owns but is our campus land, where we can have incubators and innovation and cost-efficient energy production, or a number of things. And then thirdly, we go through this torturous procurement process where it takes us forever to buy significant purchases for our hospitals and our universities, and we want to get out from under the restraints of pre-audit for purchasing and audit after we purchase, which everybody else does.
Okay, so the Senate included elements of this plan in its budget resolution. The Assembly did not.
It has not to date. We are hoping
Hope springs eternal.
Yes, yesterday's press conference will have some effect, especially since we have this a cacophony of voices in support of this bill. But one of the things we hear from the Assembly is that really this doesn't belong in the budget bill, and it's something that they might discuss later after the budget bill. We're pretty confident that history would suggest that doesn't happen. It is about revenue. It's about the state's inability to provide revenue and the need for us to have policies and a kind of unshackling of this regulatory oversight.
Well, tuition actually becomes frequently in the budget process a little bit of a political football, right? And so that's part of what you would hope that you would take that out of the political budget process and make it more, that's what you mean when you say more predictable. But Assemblyman Mark Schroeder actually was here. He's a Buffalo area Assemblyman. It was a week and a half ago, I think, and he had some very harsh words for Assembly Speaker Silver, saying that the Speaker had been actually obstructionist and that he had said that he would bring this to the floor if you had signed on, and you did sign on. You're quite advocating,
I'm leading it
quite vociferously. So do you agree with that? Is the Assembly Speaker being obstructionist?
Well, let me first say, I've been to Buffalo and Western New York a number of times now on the 64 campus tour and back on many occasions. You have to be there to understand how palpable their support is for this bill. They first last year introduced UB 2020, which was totally in support of the University of Buffalo. I'm very pleased that University of Buffalo saw the wisdom in expanding this kind of approach to all the universities within the SUNY system. And so I think not to bring this bill to the floor so that the Assembly members can debate it is what Mark was referring to. And I don't know obstruction from, I'm not there, but we want this bill debated, and so does he.
So, but the way that generally the process in the Assembly and in the Senate too works is that leadership controls what comes to the floor and what does not. And so then by association, one would assume that it's the leader, which would be the Speaker in this case, who is not allowing it to come to the floor. Have you had a discussion with the Speaker as to why that is?
I have had brief discussions over a period of time with the Speaker and, of course, with the chairperson of the Higher Education Committee of the Assembly, Deborah Glick. They know how strongly we feel about this, the three parts of this act. They have raised questions, but I would want to assure everybody, every question they have raised. We have responded. We have tried to assure them that their oversight continues to matter. They would actually put the cap on tuition so that it can't go free-falling in irresponsible ways. And we've told them that our students support this, and we have a resolution from our student body for the whole of SUNY. We have a resolution from our faculty, University Faculty Senate for the state-operated colleges of the SUNY system, and so we've tried to allay their fears. We don't then understand why that discussion can't occur for the broader membership of the Assembly.
So actually one of the arguments has been, or the concerns that has been raised, is that tuition would somehow become not accessible for lower income kids who have who see CUNY and SUNY as an entry. Of course, more and more people are going in that direction since private college is just becoming so astronomically expensive. But do you think that this whole argument is actually really a red herring because of the closeness between the Assembly majority and the unions?
Well, a couple of things. First, I have to say how committed we are to low-income students. And in fact, the president of Stony Brook spoke yesterday at the press conference and said that 1/3 of the students at Stony Brook are Pell-eligible students, and that places them in the highest quartile of research university for access of low-income students. So I do think there's a great deal of misunderstanding about our commitment to low-income students and our willingness to take any tuition revenues we get and place them first to assist low-income students in continuing to access programs across the board. About the UUP in particular, the union that represents our faculty, because as you know, the trades have supported this act, and that's very important. I think that we, SUNY and UUP, have the same goal. We want to retain our faculty and grow our faculty. The difference is in the way we want to get there. The UUP has spent considerable time requesting that the legislature restore our cuts. We would love to have the legislature restore our cuts in a $9 billion deficit budget. We're not optimistic, but we would love for that to happen. But in the event that the state cannot support the universities and the student experience in the way they should, we want an opportunity to generate revenues and to manage this appropriately. And our students want the tuition revenue to come to the university instead of closing